Greetings. Thank you so much for tuning in this evening.
She put a pot on she hair and gone. Them a the first one out on the dam. Basket on she head, bucket in each hand. Hold up on she frock, I wanna she grandson. To the market, them a go. For the morning, the day is dawning. For cockcrow to give the villagers a warning. Rise and shine, the birds them a sing. All animal take turn as them join in the waking. Cockcrow, dagaba, donkey, bray, horse, and they even duck a quack. Cockcrow, dagaba, donkey, bray, horse, and they even duck a quack. Come and hear this sweet story that tell the people about life in the country. All day a back down, me now a come home. Inaga, jackass yard for fetch the load. Cockle shy hand, bag over shoulder, running by his side, a Rexy and Rover. From the farm, them a come. Sun a go down but up the river. Some washing clothes, some folks are bathing at the water. Fisherman, they catch them a bring. From a canoe boat, man, them start offloading. Aymara, Kwakwari, Hail Baka Kuma Kuma, even Lokonani. Aymara, Kwakwari, Hail Baka Kuma Kuma, even Bangameri. Listen to this sweet story that tell the people about life in the country.
Greetings, 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 and of course, to those of you who are saints, I bid you all shalom. Thank you so much for tuning into this evening's broadcast. To the listeners on 107.1 FM, that's radio. I am certainly overjoyed to have the opportunity to share this moment with you. I always say to you when I'm doing this, that I am, of course, not Mr. Benschop, but it's an honor to sit in the stead of one who is consistent and who is persistent in reference to speaking to the ills and the expectations of Guyanese at home and in the diaspora, those who live abroad. I greet you all and I thank you so much for being here. Those of you who are joining via Facebook and social media platforms, thank you very much for being here and for sharing this moment with me. It is always an honor. I do not consider this to be an opportunity to be taken lightly. And as a result of that, whenever I'm asked to sit here in the stead of Mr. Benschop, I try my best to engage you, the audience, and you who are frequent listeners to this straight up show. I try my best to engage in a manner that carries, to some degree, as much as possible, the same or similar tone, which is for us to be serious about matters in Guyana, to be serious about discussing these matters, ventilating them here on this platform and on radio, and to be unbiased in our approach to speaking to that which should be in the interest of all Guyanese. I must hasten to say that when I sit here, I also sit here in the capacity of being a Guyanese who's an independent thinker, representing a group called the People's Movement, one that has no membership per se in reference to official membership, but one that has members that spread across the world in the country. They understand the responsibility is ours. Whether you're APNU, AFC, PNC, PPP, WP, whatever you are, or apolitical like I am, you must understand that you have got a responsibility to speak to and to stand for that which is proper in your country. The better Guyana functions, the better we all are able to live. I believe in good governance. I am very, very serious about that. I hold fast to the thought and the viewpoint that good governance is important for all Guyanese. It is necessary. We are supposed to be governed in a proper manner. So as I said, especially for those of you on Facebook, you can let me know whether you can hear and you can see clearly, so that we can engage this evening for a few moments in a discussion that is geared to highlighting some of the plights and the issues that we face as Guyanese. I had an experience today that I must hasten to share with you because it confirms my concern, and it also brings to the table evidence that there is a serious crisis, or there are a number of crises that are plaguing our nation. It is therefore incumbent on every right-thinking Guyanese for you to take a serious stance regarding what is happening in your country. I would also this evening, unfortunately so, speak to what I observe to be the inactivity in reference to physical presence of the opposition, which would be the APNU AFC coalition. Something is wrong in our society, but I will also hasten to share with you all what I believe to be the reason why they do not make their presence felt on the streets of this country. So we have that discussion as well. We speak to the fact that the administration, and when I say the administration this evening, I must be expeditious, I must be quick to inform you that Guyanese must understand how your country is governed. I will say this repeatedly whenever I have the opportunity, because we have to re-educate our people. We have to re-educate Guyanese. You must have a clear understanding of how your country is governed. For example, Irfan Ali likes to speak about his government because it's obvious that Irfan Ali does not understand how this country is governed. Aubrey Norton speaks about the government and makes reference to that as the PPP Civic, because Aubrey Norton apparently, as the official leader of the opposition, does not understand how this country is governed. And I'm not saying that lightly, because everything that we address has to be addressed with fact and truth attached to it. Guyana is called a democratic state. Called. We don't function in that manner. We're dictatorial. We've got a constitutional dictatorship. However, they label us as democratic, meaning that it is the people who govern by a means called representation. This is important. If a man who's paid a president's salary in Irfan Ali doesn't know that, if a man who's receiving now a salary of the official leader of the opposition, and he doesn't know what a democracy is, we are in some serious trouble. Jagdio, worst. Our country is governed in a system called a democracy. That is the system of governance that Guyana has. Demo means people, crassy, govern. So people govern Guyana. How do they govern Guyana? By a means called representation. In essence, we, the population, are given the right to select, and that is not actually what happens, but I'm saying what happens in reference to how they present it. You select a political group. You don't choose your members of parliament. You choose a group, and based on who wins in reference to the election, a leader of the list will choose who goes to parliament. Of course, each party would have what's called a presidential candidate if they're contesting in that area, called the general elections. This is important for you all to know. So whenever you see a member of parliament, that person is called a representative of the people. They are not the government. We are governed by a democratic system, which means that we elect or choose representatives, and that is not what we do. What we do is we choose from a whole cadre, a whole list of people they present to you. I say, these are the 65 names or 85 names, whatever it is, and you say, well, I'll vote for PNC. And then in the PNC or in the PP Civic or whichever party it is, the leader of that list chooses who goes to parliament. And I'm radio. I have to remember that I'm radio's but I was about to lose it. But these creatures have the nerve to tell you after that they are representatives of yours and they are your elected representatives. You do not elect any member of parliament. They are selected by one person, and that person puts them in the House of Assembly, and they are therefore labeled as legislators. Why is this important for you to understand? Because they present to us a different story. And the story that's presented to us is that we are almost deemed servants of these politicians. And that's why y'all keep hopping around the place calling them honorable minister and honorable what? Now, it seems as though Mr. Benschop normally invites me here whenever I'm upset or something happens. Maybe that's what he likes to do. But nonetheless, I'm not here to be a nice guy. I'm here to tell you the truth and be truthful about my feelings. There's something wrong when your people who are called political leaders cannot even define accurately how your country is governed. Guyana is called a cooperative republic of Guyana. That's our name. Republic means people govern. By definition of our country's name, we are the governors of this country. Now, how you got ministers driving in Prado and all the rest of it, Land Cruisers, that they just choose to buy based on some parliamentary arrangement, and you can't address them? What is wrong with our people? Because we are not taught that we are the ones with the power to act. So let me reiterate. Your country, Guyana, is governed by a democratic system, meaning the people govern. The country is named the Cooperative Republic of Guyana because we are a republic, meaning the people make up the government. The people govern. But we choose representatives, and that is not what actually happens, but they say that you choose representatives. What you choose is a whole list of people, and then the head of that list chooses who goes to parliament based on the number of votes they receive, and they're given the seats they're given by GCOM. That's important for this discussion this evening. Because those who call themselves leaders are allowing our nation to disintegrate. And I said to you that I speak to the absence of the APNO FC from the streets of our country, and I'll tell you why they're absent. We've got a number of issues to discuss, and hopefully I can get through them all. But let me begin with what happened today, or what caused me to be in Georgetown today. I live in Linden. I don't have any secret location. I don't have to hide from anybody. I never will. For I say to you without reservation, even on radio, the day that I have to hide from people and employ bodyguards is a day when I should never be called the leader of my people. I don't fear Guyanese. I don't fear anybody. I say on radio this evening, I say live on this Facebook broadcast, that the fact that elements from the government, what is called the administrative arm of the government, the administration, which is the PP Civic in this case, though their position is based on an inconclusive electoral process. They're sitting there for now. And then you have the opposition, which is also part of government. Then you've got the population in general, which is a part of government. We help to govern a country. That's why the articles of law, like Article 13, that dictate that any law and any decision, certain decisions that are being made, they must consult with the people. Why? Because we're the ones who govern the country. They must be transparent with us because we are the ones who are part of the government of this country. And so I live in Linden, but I drove to Georgetown through the rain today to stand with one Miss Shonette Bullers, who, as far as I'm concerned, is suffering publicly from neglect by elected officials or selected officials who say they were elected by the people. This young lady, a mother of four, leveled an accusation against an attorney. And in her accusation, she said that she was called a black monkey because she's of African descent. She said that Nirvan Singh, the attorney, who is the son of a former, I think is Chancellor acting, Kar Singh, she said that he also said that black people are useless, which means he made a collective statement according to the allegation. She said she was spat upon. The Director of Public Prosecution, Shalimar Ali Haq, who is vested with the authority, unfortunately so, to determine which matters go before the court. She decided in the last week, I think, or it must have been last week, that the case, a private criminal charge that a citizen of this country has brought against an attorney, is unworthy of going before a magistrate. It was already before the magistrate, by the way. And the magistrate would have put him on bail. So the process of hearing the matter was already enacted or activated or initiated. Shalimar Ali Haq has decided that while a case is just like with Irfan Ali, with Ashni Singh, with Nandalal, while a case is in progress, she could decide that she no longer shall pursue this matter because of what she said was evidence that was conflicting. Because she said the woman said that she was spat upon, but then the woman said, Shonette Bullers, that while the man was speaking, Nirvan Singh, he was spittle was getting into her face. Why was he so close to her? Did Ali Haq ask that question? Because you're not a magistrate. So why was he so close that as he was speaking, spittle could be on this young woman? And if that's the case, what about the black monkey part? Because the conflicting evidence cannot just be about the spit. It has to be about the part where you're speaking to the aspect of him saying that she's a black, allegedly saying that she's a black monkey and that black people are useless. Now, according to the Constitution that we live under, it says that if there's any complaint about racism, that complaint must be heard. It didn't say if there's any evidence of racism. If there is a complaint, it doesn't have to be a factual matter. As long as there is a complaint, it's in the Constitution. The complainant, the person making the complaint, the plaintiff, must be heard. The person must be before a commission, or the commission must be activated to hear this complaint. In this case, it's the Ethnic Relations Commission. That commission must further that complaint, if it has merit, to the Human Rights Commission or authority. If it's criminal in its nature, then the commission must recommend charges that are criminal. None of that happened. It did not get to that stage. Bollers decided that she wants to level a private criminal charge against Nirvan Singh to be heard in the court of law, which is her right as a Guyanese citizen. And Ali Haq determined that Nirvan Singh's intention was not to excite racial hostility. Can you imagine that the Director of Public Prosecution in Guyana can make a determination somebody's intention? Do you understand how serious an offense this is from the DPP's office perspective? That she, without hearing in a court of law, because she doesn't have that right, she, not being a magistrate, can make a determination that this man's intention was not to excite racial hostility against Black people, while he's accused of saying that Black people are useless. Then I saw today the behavior of two or three, one of them is guaranteed to be a member of the Guyana Police Force. The other two are yet to tell me their name and their rank. But I was accosted by members of the Guyana Police Force. Sergeant Hicks being the first one. When I approached him to say, what is your business here? I went to Georgetown. I went to stand outside of the Office of Public Prosecution, Director of the Public Prosecution, to protest in support of Ms. Bollers. Because I'm of the view that whether she's telling the truth or not, she has to be heard. This is a very serious accusation. I didn't go to stand with Bollers because I believe what she said. I don't function in a manner. I stood because she has a right to be heard. Please note the difference. And every other Guyanese that stand with you, because you have a right, if you level a complaint about racism, whether you're African, Indian, Chinese, Amerindian, you have a right to be heard. It is your right. Let the magistrate toss the case out if there's no evidence. But this Sergeant Hicks never said good morning to me. Never once. Never said, hello, Mr. London. I know they know me. Fine, you don't have to know my name. Or pretend as if you can pretend you don't know my name. Good morning, sir. None of that. He greeted me by saying, what is your business here? Can you imagine that in this cooperative Republic of Guyana, when the Constitution permits every Guyanese to move freely, you are walking on a street, not in anybody's yard, not in the police compound, and an officer at the rank of a sergeant can look in your face and what's your business here? That's how they greet you. As if I'm a suspect or I'm nobody. And I said, while I was there, I'm here because I'm in support of Shawnette Bollers. I'm here to protest the actions of the DPP. His response was, go beyond the barrier. The two officers who dressed like officers, and if they are officers, he said to them, carry this man beyond the barrier. So I said, for what? What is the offense? Am I not permitted to stand in public? Now, at Eve Leary, in that area, at the headquarters of the Guyana Police Force, where Clifton Hitkin is sitting as commissioner, acting, a sergeant is violating the laws of Guyana. That's what Guyana has come to. Now, let me get to the part with the APNU AFC. This is the second week that Ms. Bollers is out in front of the office of the Director of Public Prosecution. And APNU AFC cannot arrange for 50 people of their support base, including the members of parliament, the 30 plus Yall. You cannot go out to the street even once to stand with this woman. Why? Because I'm saying the issue here is beyond whether she's telling the truth. The issue is that she's asking for her time to be heard in the court. And the Director of Public Prosecution is saying, we don't want to hear you. Although the magistrate said, I will hear the case. Shalimar Aliak said no. Because the man didn't publish something on social media. He didn't use telegraphy. He did not use television to excite racial hostility. So he's not racist in his behavior. That's what Aliak is saying. Now, I have heard ever since I was protesting alone, and then others joined me, I've heard from APNU AFC that the reason why they are not coming to the street to stand with us, Guyanese who hurt, I don't support them, but I'm saying in general, even their own supporters they're not standing with publicly. And so many things are happening to Guyanese. The reason why they're not standing with us, they said to me since last year, is that if they decide to come to stand publicly, the PPP Civic, I want you all to hear me. APNU AFC, I spoke to key people in the party, and I'll tell you what they said to me. That if they go to the street of Georgetown, for example, the streets of the city, the PPP Civic, APNU AFC is the headquarters is in Georgetown, the PNC is in Georgetown, Congress Place, AFC is in Georgetown, in Kitty, wherever you're located. And I'm hearing from key people that if they go to the street of Georgetown, the PPP Civic will send people to beat people of Indian descent. And they say that it's APNU supporters who beat these Indian people. Then they're going to say APNU is causing unrest in Guyana. You're telling me, in all seriousness, that I must listen to these people telling me something like that? That APNU AFC, which happens to be the official opposition, is afraid to stand publicly in Georgetown, Guyana, the capital city, the only city, because they're afraid that the PPP Civic will pay Africans to beat Indians. Can you all understand the degree of asininity that's leading APNU AFC? They told me that. So that's why they are confined to statements and press conferences. That's the opposition that you all support. I don't support them. I never will support them. I don't support weak people like you had that from Granger's time. I will never support a weak person. And I'm sitting here to express my view, not Mr. Benschop's view. This is my view. I will never support weak people. How can you tell me that the PPP, will pay African Guyanese to beat Guyanese of Indian descent, and because of that, APNU AFC cannot walk the streets of Georgetown? Where are we going as a people? Imagine, can you imagine that the official opposition cannot even protest publicly because they scared the PPP Civic paying African Guyanese or sending African Guyanese to beat Indian Guyanese? When can I accept that as something sensible? So Ms. Bullers must stand by herself in the sun and in the rain because APNU AFC is afraid of standing publicly with her since PPP Civic will pay black people to beat people of Indian descent. When would I ever accept that? Now, those of you in the radio may not be able to see responses, of course, unless you have your phone in your hand. But I'll ask those who are on social media to answer me honestly, because I want to test a fact, check what I've said to you all. I don't just say things casually. Ever since Orby Norton became the official leader, he's now paid a salary of $800,000+ per month, probably, but I think Jaggy cut his budget. So he may be down to $250,000 per month. I want you all to tell me the truth. Ever since Orby Norton has become the official leader of the opposition, have you ever seen him on the street protesting? Tell the truth now. Prove me to be a liar. I'll tell the people on the radio what you all said on Facebook. So let's answer the question here. Have you seen Orby Norton since he became leader of PNC officially? Maybe promise y'all now that if he's elected or when he's elected, he's going to act. He will deal with this draconian vaccination and tyrannical vaccination policy by Frank Anthony. He deals with so many things. Have you seen Orby Norton for one day with Amanza Walton, Christopher Jones, Valda Lawrence? She came afterwards. But those who were there, the secretary of the party. So have you seen any one of them publicly protesting? Especially Norton. I didn't say if you saw them joining somebody protesting. I said if you saw them initiating a protest. Never. Thank you. So now, if you don't like me, prove me wrong. My life is simple. So based on this discussion, people on 107.1 FM, they're saying no on Facebook all the time because they know the truth. You could shout no in your house too. Aubrey Norton is an official leader of the opposition, and he never once organized and led a protest publicly. He left Shonette Bollers to stand by herself, but he issued a press statement or press release. That's what Guyana is coming to. So you take over from Joseph Harmon then. You know the next Mr. Press Statement and press release and press conference guru, because you don't want the PPP Civic, apparently, because that's in your camp. You don't want the PPP Civic to pay African people, to hit Indian people, and blame you all. When I was in Linden walking, when I went to the Square of the Revolution, Mr. Norton, and I made myself clear. Anybody, because I have a camera in my hand, anybody caught on camera hitting anyone else or destroying people's property, I will report you to the police. See the difference? See the difference? I even asked those who were standing with me to arrest them. There's something called a citizen's arrest. To arrest them and hand them over to the police. You're not going to bit anybody here because they're Indians or because they're African. Not on my watch. But look at the weak level of leadership. They can't even reason straight. But you see, you all have to understand that it goes beyond just talk. Our society is controlled, or they seek it to control us, by an elitist principle, meaning those at the top, the parliamentarians and those people, they don't have to come down to our level anymore. Only when they want votes, they'll do that. They are now too big to risk their image and their character and their reputation being tarnished. So in essence, Apne FC, Jagdio, Irfan and others have got you under so much control. I would have said something if I weren't in here. They got you so much in their grasp that you are scared for them to say bad things about you. So Anil Nandalal, Bar Jagdio, Irfan and others must say nice things about y'all, because you never want them to accuse you of being bad, since how the PB feels about you matters. I don't care what Jagdio says about me, and I've said it before. I've been labeled an extremist, so what? The man who's supposed to be president said I'm an extremist. Do I care? Do I care about somebody who could hardly pronounce a word that he's never encountered? Do I care about his thoughts? Do I care about his opinion? And I said repeatedly, Irfan Ali's one Guyana cesspool worthy filth is garbage. It is absolute nonsense. We have a motto called one people, one nation, one destiny. So what is one Guyana? What is that? You don't really find how we live. Look at the weakness we have in our country. So I am here to announce to you tonight that this is the time for Guyanese to stand. So somebody in Facebook is asking a question which I'll announce to you. Mr. London, does Denise Booker, with all due respect, did Shondell, she's saying Bollers, tell anyone that she was going to protest, or she just turned up as not even her relatives were with her? She was alone. I'm happy that you asked the question. That's why I said this is the second week. Further to that, Madam Booker, I announced that she'll be there. So there's no excuse, because there are people from Apne who follow me consistently, quite a few of them. So I'm telling you, they knew that she was going to be there this morning at 9 o'clock. They knew that I would be there this morning at 9 o'clock. And I'm telling you what they said to me since last year and year before last, that they don't want the PP Civic to send or infiltrate their camp of protesters and have African Guyanese paid to beat Indian Guyanese in the name of Apne FC. That's what they said. So whether she announced it doesn't change what they said to me. And I know I hope you didn't just join the broadcast, Ms. Bullers, because this is too simple for you to not understand. I just made it clear to you that I was told by numerous members of the Apple AFC that they do not go to the street because the PP Civic will pay African Guyanese to beat Indian Guyanese. That's what they said to me. So whether Bullers announced it has nothing to do with what they will do. They said why they're not going to the street. Because Bullers is not the only matter for us to protest about. Have you forgotten? Have you forgotten that Jagdeo, as a man who's not president, could go up to Berbice and announce in her faces that Gaisuka workers who are already paid severance deserve $250,000 tax-free? That wasn't Bullers. Jagdeo said that. Did you see Apne FC on the street protesting that? Have you forgotten? Your memory cannot be that shallow. So don't tell me about anybody telling them she's going to. She was there for almost 2 weeks. Or this is the second week. And I announced that we'll be there, and they never showed up. Now you're seeing for the mess, for the chaos, in that Bullers I saw on social media tonight. Hopefully, I hope it's fake news, but it doesn't seem to be fake news. That Clifton Hicken has signed off to say that her services are being terminated as of, I think, July, whenever it is. She resigned from the force when this matter occurred, according to her report. It was ventilated publicly that she immediately resigned. Hold on. How are you dismissed if you resign? You are dismissed from the force for behavior that is unacceptable by the Guyana Police Force standard. For example, those officers today, those men who couldn't tell me their names, and I was asking them, and I kept asking them their name, they never responded. They never once responded. Isn't that reason enough for them to be terminated? They assaulted me. You didn't see both of them had their hand behind my back, pushing me up the road. While I asked them, who are you? I don't know who these men are. Up until now, I don't know their names. She leveled a complaint, and she's now labeled as being fired. You're dismissed from the police force. And with Hickens' signature, citing some article of law. If you resign, you have resigned. Unless resignation is considered by the Guyana Police Force to be an act of violation of the code of conduct. That'd be an interesting find. She already resigned instantaneously upon this matter being experienced by her, according to the report. So what is she being fired for? You cannot acknowledge somebody's resignation until they're fired. But that's the kind of unfortunate experiences we've had. So I'm speaking here further to the inaction of Apne FC. The SWAT team went to Essequibo and shot a man in his bed in the person of Oren Boston. Did you see Apne FC on the streets of Georgetown protesting? Was Bullers involved? Bullers had to tell them that they should protest in Georgetown for Oren Boston. What are we really doing, Guyana? There are insurmountable issues. Up until now, Guyanese, we do not have one single published, as far as I'm aware, audit of ExxonMobil. Let's talk about these things. And Apne FC, as the official opposition, cannot protest yet. All of these dignitaries, as they call them, came to Guyana. The head of ExxonMobil was here, flaunting himself around our country at Energy Expo. Did you see Apne FC protesting? And some of you say, well, why am I being so hard on Aubrey Norton? Give him a chance to do what? He's paid a salary, so I don't have to give him a chance to do anything. And he's not my leader either. But I believe in good governance. Why do I speak this way about APNU FC? Because they are a part of the governance of Guyana. They sit on committees, members of parliament. They paid allowances. They sit on committees that help to fashion and furnish law and investigate activities in this country, like the Public Accounts Commission and Committee. They are a part of the government system, and it includes us. So I believe in good governance. Our country must be governed in a proper and healthy manner. So what chance must I give to Norton? To do what? We have to have an active opposition. I don't have to support them. And I've said it before, I will support their behavior as long as it's in keeping with what is proper for governance of this country. How do you have contracts being signed across Guyana without one member of the Public Procurement Commission being, at that time, named? We didn't have a Public Procurement Commission named. And this Pacific administration signing billions of Guyana dollars away. And you telling me that an opposition cannot see the reason to go publicly to stop this? You have got people being sent home, qualified, highly skilled people, like Dr. Vincent Adams. Replaced by what? And the opposition doesn't see a reason to protest these unjust behaviors. You've got in Linden, for example, Jagdio labeled the CEO in Linden a wild card kind of guy. Now, if Jagdio could label Rudolph Small in Linden a wild card, what is he doing here? So the PP Civic could dump a wild card in you in Linden and you can't protest? What are y'all doing as Guyanese? What are you doing as supporters? I'm speaking to you of APNU FC. Are you going to sit and accept this from your leadership? If Jagdio could call a CEO of a hospital a wild card kind of guy, why is he in Linden? So we deserve in Linden a wild card CEO at a health center that serves so many regions, Region 9, Region 7, and Region 8. Region 6 to some degree, if they have to come through Kukwani and come this way. Or certain parts of the Berbice River. We deserve a wild card. I am saying to you, there is too much silence in reference to physical activity from APNU FC's camp. I want good governance. And Nandla asks for the same thing, so I'm not as bad. The Attorney General of this country said the Guyana needs a proper functioning opposition. Why y'all mad at me? Do you know how embarrassing it is for Anil Nandla to tell APNU FC you need to be a proper functioning organization? You need to oppose with sense? You need to be active? I am announcing tonight, and you saw it today. I told you, once I begin to feel better, I am feeling better. I wasn't well for a few weeks. I'll be out publicly dealing with matters. These people came to Linden, Region 10, and bulldozed people's houses. Did you see APNU FC protesting publicly? Bullets have something to do with that too. They push people's houses down. I'm announcing that the people's movement is active. We are now officially going to stand because leaders of this country, as they call, are not standing for people. So we will now stand for people and we stand with people. You can't come to somebody's town, bulldoze houses in the pouring rain, have another female of Guyanese of African descent standing in the rain watching her whole house pushed down. And there's been no protest because they don't want PPP Civic to pay Africans to beat Indians and say, well, that's PNC supporters beating y'all. They prefer to watch you suffer consistently because they don't want Jagdeo and they don't want Nandalal to say bad things about y'all, about them. That's the quality of leadership we have. And I'm standing here, or would have been standing there today, as an individual, representing the people's movement to say, I am standing here. I don't care what Jagdeo calls me. Based on what I see, this is time for the people's movement to represent Guyanese. You hear me clearly tonight. Because I'm not being represented. Even today when the policeman assaulted me, I was not represented. And tomorrow I'll be shocked if I'll be represented by APNO FC because, of course, you're mad. Because you can't be mature enough to see that I'm saying that you should behave better. I'll be pleasantly surprised if y'all could go to the street and say that based on how they treat Nigel London, all of us are potential victims. You can't even do that. Use me if you want. Use my name as a means to say, well, at least we come to the street because you're harassing a preacher. You can't even do that. I'll be shocked if you do it. But that's what I call strong leadership. So the people's movement will come to the forefront now to represent Guyanese people. Because if you cannot stand up for what you saw today, I don't know what else you have to stand for. This is the hour for Guyanese to understand that the people, we move this country forward. That's what the people's movement is about. We, the people, shall move Guyana forward. How? By holding elected officials accountable. That's what I do all the time. You're not going to be paid money in this country to sit in the House of Assembly and eat free food, drink what you want to drink, call for the best sips when you want it, and we must just accept your behavior. Not under my watch. You will serve people. I don't have to like you, you don't have to like me, but you will serve us. You are servants of the people. Do we not have the right to be represented? PPP Civic could do anything they want. That's what Guyana must come to. But I'll tell you, there's a problem that y'all are not seeing. I am of the view, and this is my opinion, not Mr. Benschop's opinion. I'm saying my opinion here. I'm of the viewpoint, which I'm free to share, that there's so much money circulating in the upper bracket of this society that APNO AFC members stand to benefit significantly by the inaction. They could, now they have a right to prove me wrong by acting, but I realize that so much money, the oil money, is getting sweeter by the minute in Guyana. And you cannot sleep, Guyanese. You must take note of how many discoveries these people have made. There is so much floating around in terms of wealth that the Europeans, these creatures, are pulling strings. Have you forgotten that since Norton met with Sarah Allen, she was never the same man, never the same person? He never even came forward to say, this is what she said to me. I didn't hear him say that. He didn't say, I told her, listen, you are not supposed to be in this country because you interfered in the internal affairs of an electoral process. He bowed to Sarah. Blame Mr. Benschop. He invited me tonight. I didn't invite myself. But since he met with Sarah Allen, she was never the same person. Never the same person. You've got the Guyana Elections Commission hopping and skipping around the place. 2+ years have passed already since elections were had, and you can't have a proper system even being considered as to how we're going to stop this voter fraud. But they want fair election. They have no intention to have any free election in this country. These things have to be addressed. Fair election? How can you have fair election? You have a bloated voters list. And for 2 years, the guardians of democracy cannot see that something is wrong with our voting system and it has to be fixed immediately. No, they don't want that. Look at how the CEO was chosen. Because Claudette said he was around GCOM and he saw certain things. The law says you have to serve in the capacity for 10 years. I've experienced in certain areas for 10 years. He didn't have experience for 10 years. She said he observed. He was seeing things. And that gives him qualifying right to be a CEO. And up until this day right now, nobody from Acton UFC that I know of, or the PNC or PvP Civic, none of the two of them have obeyed the law, which is you must say who financed your campaign. None of them submitted to GCOM, and this current CEO said that Lowenfield is supposed to be the person to make Jack Leo and these men say where the finance money, the campaign money came from. What foolishness is this? What kind of stupidity am I hearing here? That Lowenfield was before the court is his fault. And this CEO, up until now, 2 years have passed, and they can't have us as Guyanese knowing who are the financiers of these campaigns. That's the kind of people we have in GCOM. Our problems are insurmountable, but they are not in any way impossible to deal with. They may be great, but they're not impossible because the people's movement will arise. It's time. This is no third force. I don't talk on a third force. This is a responsible force of Guyanese because we're coming in your face to say, do what is right. So there's no secret on my part. I have seen enough garbage. The fact that the average Guyanese, and I'll close with this. If Mr. Benschop give me more time, I'll talk. You tell me what to do. But the average Guyanese is strongly of the viewpoint that politics is a dirty game. You know your country has failed you at the upper tier of leadership when you can, as an average Guyanese, define politics as a dirty game. Politics is a system of governance, or the act of governing, I should say. It's not a system of governance. Politics is the act of governing a country or people. And can you imagine most Guyanese are of the viewpoint that politics is a dirty game? Imagine that. Not that politics is a responsibility. It's a dirty game. Imagine. Because you are accustomed to criminals in the House of Assembly and crooks. That has to change. And I will call them out for who they are. We have enough of y'all. You think that because all this money floating around here now, you can have promises made in secret and contracts given to y'all in secret, and persons are benefiting significantly. But the small man must suffer, and Sarah Anlit must strut around this country as though she's president. She has to get out of this country. And Norton can't even say that. I don't care to take my visa. I don't want any visa from you. My visa expired long. I don't want any more. I don't care about you. Keep it if you want. Blacklist me all you want. Get out of here. You have interfered in the function of this country, and you still have your foot involved in our business. Every photo opportunity, Sarah, and strutting like some peahen. And Norton can't call her out. If an Ali's wife could go and take care of Venezuelans who are our enemies, Venezuela is Guyana's enemy. Our border enemy is Venezuela. And she could go straight out aid. But Haitian people are kicked out of this country, and Abdul can't protest yet. So you could be quiet that the PvP Civic could support with the US funding our enemies, our territorial enemies. Y'all got to be joking. You can't be serious. You cannot be serious. Politics is not dirty. Politics speaks to responsibility. Politicians become wicked when you allow them to do it. My brothers and my sisters, I'm grateful that you spend this time with me. I hope that I ventilated matters as responsibly and passionately as I wanted to. passionate enough for you to understand that this is the time for the people of Guyana to act. I keep saying this to you all. We're no longer allowed to even walk the street in peace and protest. That's a problem. You will never hurt me like cattle. No Guyanese police officer will do that to me. None of y'all can do that to me. And I remain quiet. I will always protest your behavior. I have a right to move freely in public. That's the law. And none of you is above the law. As I said to the officers as I close, when they could surround Granger's vehicle and in Kingston, nobody arrested them. When the PP Civic surrounded Granger, the president, they should have been shot. But nobody shot them because they threatened the safety of a president. But now you can't even walk the street to Georgetown. It's a problem. They could barricade everywhere, and New York is accepting that. Now it's time for us to act. We are taking our rights back because enough is enough. We fed up. Hashtag, we fed up. We're taking our rights back. I'm grateful for the time. Mr. Benschop on Facebook, they pleaded with you to give me more time. More time. It's funny. This has me laughing. But I'm here, and I'm grateful. And I'm sure, excuse me, that my point has been made. This is the people's time. If you allow this country to keep going down this path, and if you allow the PNC and AFC and APNU AFC to keep being so passive in their approach to governance, we will all sink under an already functioning dictatorship. They've made us a handout society. Everything for PP Civic is give you some more money. Not here. I'm grateful.
Yeah, it's must be.
Mr. Benschop, thank you again, sir. I appreciate the opportunity. I'm grateful that I could have sat in your stead. I hope that I would have done justice to your program. I hope that would have done justice to your viewers. Those of you listening on 107.1 FM, I remain grateful for your attention and your company. Those who made comments, whether you agreed or not, thank you for doing so. Thank you for taking the time for investing in typing. I appreciate you all. Thank you. Over to you, Mr. Benschop. I appreciate this opportunity. As I've said, I will stop speaking, but it doesn't mean I have nothing more to say. I am loaded with passion. I am laden with responsibility, and we must act. This is our time. Somebody is saying that the AFC was talking just like me. I just want to read the radio audience to hear some of the comments. Somebody said yes, that AFC was talking just like me. AFC could never be me. Never. Never be me. Don't forget that Ramjatan came from. Don't forget that quite a few of these guys were in partnership with and still are. So don't come on AFC business here. I am me. There's nobody in Ghana that could be me. And that's what every Ghanaian must be, an independent thinker. AFC was battered in a local government election to the AFC to talk like me. I am me. I am not a repeat of anybody. And I say again, I do not have to be elected to serve. I'm serving people now. I don't have to be elected to serve Guyanese. I will serve you. But I'm saying to you, this is a time where you see the people's movement being more active in representing you. Now, whether you choose to say, listen, we have seen your representation, we want you to represent us in Parliament or in the House of Assembly or in the presidential house, wherever it is you want to say the people movement should be, that's your choice. And I want to make that clear to you. I'm not saying to you that you need to vote for me to represent you. I'm saying that I am beginning to make my presence felt in representing you more publicly. Let's get it clear. If you see a leader in me and others who serve you, some of you may be leaders yourselves, and you say, listen, we can repose confidence in you to act on our behalf, that's your choice. I respect it and maybe I'll consider it. But I'm not asking you to vote for me to represent you. I'm representing because of my responsibility as a man who's Guyanese. And because Norton and others don't want Jagger to say bad things about them, so let Jagger say bad things about me. You hear the difference? I don't care what Jagger has to say. Jagger's opinion is of no significance to me. He is irrelevant in my book. And so are all others who don't treat my people right. So I don't care what you think about me. You can call me an extremist, call me terrorist, call me what you want. I am representing my people. If that's a crime, put me in jail. And from the prison halls, I'll tell you just what I feel about you. Because unless you kill me, and only Yahweh could permit you to do that, I will not be quiet. And there'll be records like this to show that even if I'm dead, there'll be video evidence to show how weak you are. That's how I live my life. So, thank you all so much. I appreciate it. If you don't mind on Facebook, you can feel free to share the broadcast with others. Of course, it helps in so many ways. And I don't think that Mr. Benschop will mind. You're sharing the views of one who would have been asked to host this broadcast this evening, or this program. So, he hasn't terminated the broadcast yet. I'm still sitting here. So until he pulls the plug or plays a song, I guess I'll speak to you, because we have to get governance right. We have to get governance right. Must. Bye-bye.
Hello, this is attorney Shellen Washington, owner and founder of the Washington Law Firm, located at 455 Utica Avenue in Brooklyn, New York. We're specialized in medical malpractice, personal injuries, matrimonial law, and landlord and tenant. If you're in need of legal representation, please give us a call today. The number to call is 718-877-3100. Consultation is free at no cost to you. So call us today to see if we can be of any assistance to your legal needs. Again, the phone number to call us is 718-877-3100.